Up next on Inside ChampCar, we preview the season opener at Atlanta, and we go bench racing with our bank racing driver, Andrew Johnson. Welcome to Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski.
And I'm Bill Strong.
You are?
I am.
Oh, man.
Bill Strong. No, my dad is called Bill Strong, too.
There you go. There you go. This is Inside ChampCar. We are here for our second episode. Bill, the first episode was fantastic.
Yes, it was. Unlike this one, which just started off really bad already. The bloopers are going to be awesome.
Well, that's the cool part about doing this as a podcast. I get rid of all that stuff, and we look brilliant when it's all over. So, except for those people who know us, who realize that we're not brilliant, and it's all smoke and mirrors. So,
well, let's just say the microphones were on.
Exactly. We will be burning this computer down, so there is no evidence to be shown later.
So I'm here in Virginia, which is in the dead of winter right now. You're out in Southern California, which is not in the dead of winter.
No.
Oh, what, 60 degrees, 70 degrees?
It was 60 something today. It was, and tomorrow it's supposed to actually get close to 80 with Santa Ana winds. So that could be a little dangerous out here, but otherwise it's perfect. That's
like the best work on my ChampCar days. I mean, you guys can do work on these cars 24/7, 365 days a year. I mean, it's hard for us. I mean, my shop is, 200 yards away, a Quonset hut that's, can hold 5 or 6 cars, but no heat, frozen floor from the snow, when the snow melts, it leaks in, and you kind of have to ice skate around, and it's just, it's bad. I know a lot of folks up here. Andrew, who's coming up a bit later, lives up in the Chicago area, and it's ice up there. And you're from up north too, right?
That's right. I'm from the Chicago area, born in Chicago, raised in Wisconsin, went to school in Minnesota. And I when people from back home ask me, why did you move to Southern California? You just answered the question.
Yeah.
I change my oil all year round. Actually, here it's different. I make sure that I do the car maintenance in May, because I don't want to work in the garage in August and September because it's just too darn hot.
Right. Yeah. When I lived out, I'm from San Diego. I grew up in San Diego. And when I lived out there, it was 68 degrees, 69 degrees all year long. I mean, we did have February, it got down into the 20s or 30s for a day or two. And I do remember ice, and it snowed once in the 60s, but it was always warm. You could always, and it was something you never thought about. It was just, you just went out and did stuff.
I never have to shovel sunshine.
No. Yeah. It's fun living out there. Though the only downside I see with the California area was all the good racetrack. I mean, all the historic racetracks are kind of going away. I'm surrounded by racetracks here in Central Virginia. I got VIR and Summit Point. Another new track to the east of me. We're not far from Watkins Glen, Pittsburgh. I mean, there's just a huge amount of tracks I can go race at.
Right.
But Southern California, Riverside's gone.
Yep.
Auto Club kind of going away.
Probably.
I think it's still there. We've done racing there. We actually had Jay Leno with us, and Adam Carolla.
Right.
Were there with us 2 years ago, and at Auto Club, and I had fun at that track. It was neat, but I think they're going to turn that into an 1/8 mile oval or something.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a quarter mile or close to a half mile oval, and I've looked at it because we've done some racing there as well, and they could still keep a road course. It would have it'd be a lot shorter than the old one, because a lot of the NASCAR would be gone. There is a way to do it. I don't think they're going to. I think they want to use the rest of that racetrack for some kind of like hotel thing.
Right.
But we still have Willow Springs out here, which is great.
Yep. I love that. We're there this year, actually.
And I'll be joining you there, whether you like it or not.
Cool.
So I'll be making a drive-by there for that. And then, of course, there's Button Willow, which is a great track. I spend a lot of my time there. So,
and there's one out in the desert, out east of 10, or you go out 10, and it's way out there by the Arizona border.
Chuckwalla, that's
it.
Yep, I haven't been there yet, but I think I'm going to get there this year. So
I think that's one we're going to be working on for next year to get. It's a really interesting track.
And there's a brand new one that's open. It's kind of a privateer track just outside of Phoenix now.
Yes.
And I understand that one of the vintage groups might be going out there, and I may get there this year as well. So lots of stuff going on. But you know what? You talk about being cold. You guys are going racing next weekend.
Yeah,
you guys are going racing this weekend.
No.
Well, when this airs,
yes.
this airs. When this finally comes out, it'll be like the day before racing. So this weekend, I know.
Sorry, I just shivered because this morning I woke up and somebody had posted on our ChampCar Garage Facebook page, 16 days until Road Atlanta, and I just had this moment. You freak out.
People might be listening to this podcast going through tech at Road Atlanta because
they might be
when this is coming out. So like I was going to say, first race of the year, February 4th and 5th. That's coming up like right now because we're putting this out on the Thursday before the race at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta, just north of the beautiful, what do they call the loop around Atlanta now? I can't even remember it now. The 285 loop.
Oh yeah, I'm not from that area. All I know is that you have to stay away from that area because it's, a little drop of rain falls and it stacks up.
So 14-hour race all on Saturday with a test day on Friday, load in and technical inspection on Thursday. Yep. It's a big time. You guys are getting ready to ramp the whole thing up.
It's big. We have Bob Varsha is going to be working with us again up in the tower. Paulie and Bob will be up in the tower this weekend. We're allowing Paul to escape the studio from Indiana, and they'll be working up there. I believe Tiffany will be with us. I'm still waiting for her schedule, and I'll be on pit lane unless it's like cold. Then I might be engineering something upstairs. Who knows?
Nice.
Because but it's either here we can edit this, right? Yeah. So hopefully it may be snowing, it may be hot, it may be cold, it may be raining, it may be all of the above at Road Atlanta this weekend, but it's going to be a fun race. And Road Atlanta is on my top 5 tracks of all time to race on. It's a brilliant, fast, very technical track to get right. And if you screw up, it's going to hurt you.
Well, and Road Atlanta was one of my home tracks because, of course, I've lived all around the country, and I did a couple of years at CNN in Atlanta. So while I was in Atlanta, Road Atlanta was my home track. I actually, when I first moved to Atlanta, I didn't understand anything about traffic. So I moved on the other side of town, and as soon as my first year lease was up, I drew a line between CNN, which is right downtown Atlanta, and Road Atlanta, and I cut it in half, and that's where I chose to find my next apartment. So I was literally 45 minutes from work, an hour from Road Atlanta, right smack in the middle in a little place called Duluth, Duluth, Georgia. And it was the perfect place to go for a single guy who was racing crazy and working at CNN. So I know the track really, really well. There are places there's really no place at Road Atlanta where if you make a mistake, it's not going to hurt you. Yeah. It's just there's every corner sets up something really important for the next corner.
We've even had some big incidences on the back straight.
Oh yeah.
Where you think that's the time to rest, not rest, but you're checking your belts to tighten them up. You're looking at your gauges and you look up and there's a slow car in front of you. It's it's a place that you really have to be on top of your game. You can't relax anywhere at that track.
Well, I'm so old that when I raced there, the backstretch didn't have a left-right combination.
Right.
And
turn 10A and turn B.
Exactly.
And 10B.
So that made it a little less technical because you just kind of put your foot on the floor until you got to the bridge.
Right.
And if you were really brave, you still kept your foot on the floor under the bridge. But now it's, you have to have that left-hander 10A combination there, and that changes the whole concept of what that backstretch was. But they spent too many times having prototype cars go end over somersaulting down the back straight. They had to slow it down, and that's how they chose to do it. So, but yeah, and it's one of those things where that combination is so important because if you don't hit it right, then you don't have 11 and 12 right, and that screws up the start of your lap,
and that screws up turn 1.
Exactly.
It's there's so many connections at that track that if you screw up, you just screw up so many down the line there.
Exactly.
But we had a race there. I want to say 2015, 2014, and I think we were shooting for 7th place. It was kind of a race. What's the number one rule of racing is don't hit your teammate.
Yes.
Well, we had one of those incidences, and we were all fighting back for position, and I think we were in the top 10, and the team was saying, "Hey, this car, you're hunting for this car," and so I'm hunting and hunting and hunting. I'm last stint of the car, a couple minutes left of the race, and they said, "He's right in front of you, get him," and so I dive into 10. I'm thinking, I am just going to late brake as late as I can and turn, and hopefully these tires hold. And I did, and I took that corner faster than I probably ever should have with my skill level, but I made it. Came down the hill, and I heard this, "Oh, no, you already passed him 2 laps ago." So I almost ended up in the sand trap. That's how close it was. It was, that's one of those tracks.
So how does the entry list look? I know we're still, because we're recording a couple of weeks before the event. What's it look like right now?
Well, right now we're at 56 when we're recording this, and we're usually around 70 to 80 cars. I think a lot of folks, the last 2 years was kind of abnormal. We've had 2 snow outs. Snow outs would be the last couple hours of the race canceled because of snow. And when I say snow, I'm not talking about, Atlanta's cars spinning everywhere, snow flakes. I'm talking 3-4 inches of snow on the ground. We actually red flagged the race and had a hard time getting all the cars back because there were cars stuck going up turn 1, past turn 1 and just all over the place. And the fog came in, and that just made it worse. And I had to go pick up my cameras. And I was like, these guys, they just didn't have the right tires on. No, they couldn't see. They've got these bright racing lights on, and it was insane. I had so much respect for these guys. Like, how did they do this for the laps that they ran where they couldn't see? And, but yeah, we have 56 cars. We've got some good teams coming out signed up for it. We suspect that teams are going to wait a week or two, kind of get that 10-day forecast to see where we're at, and then sign up for it. So we should be in the 70 to 80 range. I know we have some Florida folks that are coming up as well. They just haven't got their cars done. Some teams wait to get their car done, and then enter the race. But yeah, we have some Hong North. They're coming up. Those guys have done really well at that track over the years. NLS Racing, they've led that race a couple of times. They've got 2 cars entered. One of them actually got pretty banged up at VIR. Actually, both of them got banged up pretty bad at VIR in December. But those guys are pretty hardcore, and they'll get those cars working. Visceral Racing Group, they've got 2 Porsche 944 RSR, the RSR and the RS cars. They will be there with their Porsches. By the looks of it, it looked like Ron was actually rebodying those cars, or at least one of them. He showed up one of the races with the back of the cars cut off. They had some crash damage, and they just ran them like that. Our tech wasn't too happy about that. The crush zones being gone. The cars are stupid light, stupid fast. Of course, it was a rain race, so that didn't really help them. But Ron working hard to get those cars back. He's also a car that can show up and win this race. But the guys that have, I think, the biggest chance of winning would be Cone Crushers and their Porsche 944. They have done really well over the years. They've won that race a couple of times. They've finished at the top. Of course, whoever I say here, other guys are going, no, it's going to be me. RVA Graphics is going to be there with their E30s. There's a whole bunch of E30s that show up. UGA, University of Georgia Motorsports, they're going to show up with their 99 Ford Mustang. That's a student team. If you didn't know, we let student teams race for free.
Wow.
And that's a university team. They race under the school colors. It's actually it's set up sort of the same way that Formula SAE is.
Okay.
They actually have a program of learning, and they get to go build the car, learn about it, and then go racing.
Cool.
A lot of aero done on those cars, and they've done pretty well over the last couple of years. They're getting close. And of course, Flying Ghost, that's a big name team. They're racing a whole bunch of races with us this year. And then 901 Motorsports, those guys, some of those guys work at AutoZone, and they're who helped sponsor the ChampCar Live or advertise for that ChampCar Live. They help us present that show. So
it's the first race of the year. It's February. it's Atlanta, so that is technically winter.
Yeah.
People don't think Atlanta has winter, but you talked about it. You had some snow. You guys don't put the ChampCar snowmobile in the trailer for these races just in case you need it?
No, we had the Touareg, which was for all-wheel drive, and we had really good tires on that. And the first year we had the snow 2 years ago, I actually got out there and helped squeegee off the track with the tires. We melted the snow and they got the blower out. They were all excited. They got to use their NASCAR blower. We had to be careful driving beside it because they kept telling us it's going to tip over the car. So we had all of our Champ vehicles out there kind of helping push the snow off the track. Of course, we got back to racing, and then later on we had to end up quitting because of the fog came in.
There you go. So what do teams have to think about when they're going to this kind of event with the potential of wildly different weather? I mean, it could also be 65 degrees and sunny, too.
Yeah, this is a great place to put our tech tip.
Dun,
dun, dun. We need some tech tip music.
Can I? I'll come up with tech tip music.
There we go. So, so not only with cold, a lot of times we've been to that track where it's been 20 degrees in the morning. You get up and you walk out to your car and you're thinking, oh, I forgot to put the car cover on it. And now I have 4 inches of ice on the window and on the inside of the window where you can't really get to it and scrape it and all that stuff. You have rain, humidity, all kinds of, and this is not just in the cold, but also, the hot
Sure.
summers, the fall, any time of the year, you have rain, snow, whatever. How do you defrost those windows? A lot of these guys, especially guys in the South, they pull every ounce of weight out of these cars they can. We have no minimum weight limits in ChampCar. So they pull the defroster out, the heater out, everything. Now, when it comes time to race at Road Atlanta, you're thinking, why the heck did I take my heater out? I needed this. So, a lot of guys will run, we still have teams that run stock parts,
Sure.
You still have them. But then you have these teams that they'll run these fancy bilge fans that you run in, the boats, the little fans.
Right.
They use it for brake fans for NASCAR.
Okay.
But a lot of guys will point those at the window, and those work pretty well. That's kind of what I used. But there's also a company called, of course, my screen goes blank, Frost Fighter. So Frost Fighter is the kind of the big thing the teams have been using for the past 3 to 4 years. They're the defroster lines that you see on the back windows.
Sure.
You can buy them as a stick-on that you put on the front window.
Huh.
And now you think, now I'm looking through these lines and it's going to be a distraction from everybody I've spoken to. And I've only run one car with them. You never even notice them.
Sure.
It's just, you don't see it. It's like, when your wipers are running and it stopped raining, sometimes you don't see it. But Frost Fighter is a big seller. You can buy them direct. You can buy them from Bimmer World. They actually sell them. I know they're looking for additional folks to sell through. So if you have any need, you can talk to them at frostfighter.com, but you can also order direct, and they ship out really quick. Again, Bimmer World also ships out pretty quick from them, and Bimmer World is part of Lifeline Fire in Virginia, and both, it's all one company.
Sure.
But yeah, it's and those work really, really well at keeping your window defrogged, and that's a big plus because it's hard to do fast laps or consistent laps when you're having to pull a squeegee out with a rag on it to wipe a hole so you can see through the window, or frost, and you can't scrape the inside of the window from a seat safely.
I remember, and I don't remember which it was. Was it Le Mans or Daytona, whatever it was? But there were you could see the team had devised this thing with a towel on a stick, and I don't remember which driver it was, but you could see him going at like 190 miles per hour because you can only do it on a straight. Yeah. So you can't do it in the corners, but you want to go fast in the straight. So you could see the stick and a guy trying to clean the windshield at 190 miles. It was hilarious. And
so what's
scary.
Really funny about that was that we've been doing this, not me, but ChampCar teams have been running in the rain in this type of weather with open cars because we don't allow the passenger or the driver's side windows to be on. We had a tropical storm at Daytona one year. So we've had, and as soon as that water comes in the car, it hits that hot floorboard and turns into steam, the whole bit. So we've had teams that have devised things like that. They take the snow scrapers,
okay,
and they wrap a
bath towel.
Yeah, well, the microfiber
Yeah,
cloths onto them and that kind of stuff to do that. And so when you saw that highlight of the driver doing that, and also another driver putting tape on his visor one time, our guys just go nuts on the internet saying, hey, I did that at such and such. And, it's like, they're copying us and that kind of stuff. But you know what? A lot of those guys do race with us. So
right.
Who knows where they learned it?
Well, it's funny because, if you're driving from, daylight into dark, one of the tricks that I always like to do is I put on a smoke colored tear off on my helmet, and then as the sun starts to go down, I just pull that tear off, and now I have a clear shield or my amber shield, and that gets me through the dusk and all that kind of stuff. So there's lots of little tricks you can do for that kind of thing. So now again, and I think I established this in our first episode, I am a neophyte when it comes to ChampCar, so I get to ask all the dumb questions, and I figure if there's other people just getting started with this, there might be other people with the dumb questions, so it's not such a dumb question. So this defroster, it's not a performance thing, so that's unlimited as far as what it doesn't get any points or anything, right?
No, anything within inside the car cabin where the driver sits that's driver related is open. You can run whatever timing systems you want into it. Sure. However, if you want 50 gauges or 0 gauges, you can run that. Lights, you can run cool shirts, with a 50-gallon tank of ice in it, or just those really cool shirt things that don't run water. I forget what they're called, but a lot of guys are using those now. And then, you can run anything you want. You got to run a racing seat.
Sure.
No specs on that. You do have to have all the holes on the firewall covered up. None of this, if it's larger than whatever, no, it's a hole. It needs to be covered because we've seen fuel come in those holes.
Right.
We've seen fire come in those holes.
Yep.
And we've seen some pretty bad, I want to say we've seen some pretty bad fires in ChampCar. We have not had that many fires in ChampCar, but the ones we did have been pretty bad. So we've changed our rules quickly to sort those out. And one of them was firewalling and getting all the fuel system out of the way. And I think a lot of the other sanctioning bodies have done the same when it comes to a lot of the safety stuff when it comes to fueling. And it's, well, we've been doing that with the ABCD since, 1940. Right. And you're like, well, now you look at them and it's like, no, they're pretty much doing the same thing we are now. So
absolutely. All right, so what else do we need to know about this first round at Road Atlanta before we get to our break and get to our guest?
Well, just remember it could be cold, so you're allowed to put up to 10% of antifreeze in your car. That doesn't mean 100% antifreeze. It means 10%. We know how you racers like to push those percentages. Headlights are required at this track because it is a night race. A maximum of 4 headlights on the car. If they're working or not, maximum of 4. You can't have 6 lights with 2 unplugged. It has to be 4 max.
Got it.
The max sound, which we're really going to be pushing, is 96 dB at 50 feet. That's kind of my job. So I'll be hitting teams for that. But Road Atlanta is pretty good. These guys get their cars quiet at that track. Let's see what else. We're using the club paddock, which is the outside paddock, not the inside one. We've kind of used both over the years. And remember, when you're going through tech, if you've got an ESS fire bottle, you have to take that out of the car and have it weighed before every race.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they have some leakage issues when it comes to freezing and things like that, or even just life. They have some leakage issues. So by weighing it, we can see, does it have enough? Because we've had some issues where the teams pull the pin and it would, Yeah. So we don't want to see that again. And then Flagtronics is going to be there as well. They'll have some units for rent. You can also buy them from flagtronics.com. And that's our flagging system, the in-car flagging system. And they'll be on track as well with the big panels, which are really nice at night. Sure. Not necessarily in the fog, because I guess they kind of blind you in the fog. So hopefully it won't be foggy, but you can see them.
All right, so it's an 8 o'clock green flag, 8 a.m. green flag, 10 o'clock checkered flag, and an award ceremony at 10:30. Everybody wants to be on top of that podium, right? Yeah,
they do. And this race, you'll see them fighting for it throughout the day.
Absolutely. All right, so I think this is a good place to take our break. When we come back, we're going to be with Andrew Johnson from R Bank Racing. This is Inside ChampCar.
Inside ChampCar is a podcast that takes a deep dive into all things going on with the ChampCar Endurance Series. Hosted by veteran journalist, radio host, and racer Brian Bielanski and ChampCar's very own Bill Strong, we talk to drivers, team bosses, tech gurus, and series supporters. Episodes air every week in time for you to listen on your way to the track. Inside ChampCar is on the Racing Wire Podcast Network, found on Apple, Spotify, Google, and most popular podcasting apps.
Welcome back to Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski. He's Bill Strong. In the middle of episode 2 of this crazy thing we call Inside ChampCar. How we doing, Bill?
Hey, doing good here. Good break. And welcome back, guys.
Welcome back, everybody. So, joining us now from R Bank Racing, Andrew Johnson. Andrew, welcome.
How you doing?
We're doing good. I'm in California, and Bill was just giving me a hard time about having to close the window here in the studio. You're up in the Illinois area. How's your weather these days?
Oh, it's a balmy 15 degrees right now. I don't have any windows open myself.
Well, since you're up in the north, is that Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Oh, it's Fahrenheit.
I love it. So you're up in the Chicagoland area, my old stomping grounds. I raced up through that area many eons ago, back at Road America, and we've been at a lot of the same places before, but we've not crossed paths. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got involved in this crazy sport that we all love.
Sure. Well, I started karting when I was 9 years old. My grandfather actually raced go-karts back in the 60s, and when I was about 9 years old, he asked my dad when he was going to get me my first go-kart. And when I heard go-kart, I started bugging him, and eventually, he bought a go-kart suit and all the goodies from a friend of mine. And I kart raced until I was about 16. And at that point, I realized my frame was a little bit better suited for football than it was kart racing. And I went ahead and played some NCAA football. And when I finished up college, the racing bug still had me. And from there, I did some oval racing. And then one day, I was reading a local motorsport magazine and saw something called 24 Hours of Lemons. And I took my oval racing car, which had been sitting next to the barn for a little while, kind of tuned it up, did some cage work, and tried 24 Hours of Lemons. And
so how many points? How many points did they give you that, or laps did they give you for that car? Or
the first race?
How much bribing did you have to do?
Well, we weren't sure of how the whole format worked our first race, and I think we started with some laps, but once we figured out kind of how the series worked, we got pretty good at it, and I think we won A-class once. But we were having an absolute riot road course racing. But the whole kind of atmosphere and some of the gamesmanship stuff wasn't quite up our alley. And then we had actually heard a whisper about some series called ChampCar, and that they were going to run at Road America, which I thought was crazy. They're going to let a bunch of yahoos like us run at Road America. But sure enough, I think it was the spring, April, maybe of 2011. After it got snowed out the first time, we went ahead and raced at Road America for ChampCar and actually won our first event. And we were hooked ever since. And we've still been running ChampCar now to this day and been having a blast.
So you go to Road America for the first time. I consider Road America one of the pantheons of motorsports in the world. What was your first impression when you went up to Elkhart Lake?
Oh, I think we were a little awestruck.
Yeah.
The facility is so nice and everything is so big, and they run it so professionally that it was a lot different than some of the oval tracks we had raced, different than the kart tracks, and different than some of the club tracks we had been running in Lemons. It was an absolute blast and a real eye-opener, and such a wonderful facility. We raced there last fall and have been trying to run there pretty much every year for the last 10 years.
We had been running many of the East Coast races, and the first time I went out to Road America, I think it was 2013. I think it was me and Troy went out there, and you guys were garaged right next to us. I think it was right. I think you were right next to us, or at least one of your teammates was. But I could not get over it how many long straightaways they were there. They just weren't, most of our tracks that we race on was one long straightaway and a bunch of curvy bits here and there. But this was like long straightaway, turn, long straightaway, turn, long straight. And it was just like, by the time my first lap was done, I'm thinking, I'm not going to have any brakes left by the end of this lap. I mean, did you guys have those kind of problems? I mean, I did. They weren't very good, but yeah.
Well, as we got faster, we definitely had problems to race at Road America. But our first race, we really weren't fast enough to have that many brake issues. I think we were probably 25 seconds a lap slower than what we are now. And we probably had maybe 105 horsepower under the tap. So the first race, we didn't have problems with brakes. But then as we slowly started adding power and getting the car faster, we definitely did. And that's been one of the hardest parts about racing at Road America, is I think it's the hardest track on brakes of any one that I've run, at least.
Yeah. Now it's not just you. I mean, your father is a big part of what makes the R-Bank Honda a fast car, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he actually does the most work on the car, and it's really his baby. I certainly help him out as much as I can, but I'm stuck working 12 plus hours a day at my day job most of the time.
So what Honda do you run?
Right now we have a Honda CRX.
Okay.
So it's the 88 to 91, the second generation one. And it has a Acura Integra motor in it, and some aero on it.
Which revs to like 1 million.
1.5 million.
Yeah, there you go.
So
you walk up and down the pit lane, and people are like, I just can't believe that thing's still held together.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that we actually shifted lower than the factory red line.
Oh, wow.
So, we might rev it to $8,000, but in the factory red line is 8,250 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're really not stressing it more than what the manufacturer designed it for.
So as far as keeping that car together and all of that kind of thing, you've got the Integra motor in it. How many races are you getting out of, a motor before a rebuild, or are you just taking that thing until it goes?
Well, actually, I think we put the motor in the car probably in like 2017. And we had a new driver at pit race. We won on Saturday, and on Sunday, he was behind the emergency vehicle and actually put the car in first gear accidentally. Oh. And they put a connecting rod out the front of the block. And that was the end of that motor, which probably had a season or so on it.
Okay.
And we're on the same motor since then. I think we've done a valve job once. Otherwise, haven't really done anything to it, and it's been running strong.
Yeah, I think at Mid-Ohio, before Mid-Ohio, you had posted up pictures of the head off the car. So I think that was a valve.
Yeah. We, it just started feeling real lazy, and, we were getting pulled by cars, and even Troy came over and said, hey, you guys are real reliable, but it doesn't seem like you're pulling the way it used to. And I was like, yeah, I really don't want to pull the head off. And, it's going to be expensive. And, if I don't put it back right, then, we can have a problem. And, it then ended up turning out great, though. We got that power back that we had lost, and it's running like a clock again.
For those of you who don't know, who might not race Hondas and Acuras, all of the power in the Honda Acura setups comes from the head. So, I ran Hondas myself, and you could almost take a lower end out of the junkyard, put a really good head on it, and run it for a long, long time, be really fast with it, right?
Yeah. Well, with 1.8 liters, you don't have a lot of displacement, and,
right.
You got to stay up in the RPM range in order to get that. And, if your head's tired, you're going to really struggle. But as far as the bottom ends, right now they're getting so beat up, they're harder to find now that they're 20 plus years old. And, a lot of them have been, have been beat pretty hard by some of the tuner generation. And so there's not a lot of good ones, motors in good shape anymore. The one thing that's nice is that ChampCar allows you to substitute with an equal JDM motor. And so you can pick up, a JDM motor that has like 45,000 kilometers for a reasonable amount of money, and just put that straight away in the car.
Yeah, well, 45,000 kilometers. Yeah.
But you can put that straight away in a car without touching it,
right,
and run seasons.
Right.
So teams that might not have the mechanical ability, can go ahead and do that, not have to touch a motor and know that they have a strong power plant. So, that's an advantage that, ChampCar brought to the table a couple of years ago, was allowing, JDM equivalent or Euro equivalent motors.
So, looking at the stuff that Bill has shared with me, your team is one of the pretty consistent front runners in ChampCar. What is your secret? What is the secret sauce that keeps you guys in the mix race after race with these endurance? Okay, I'm seeing Bill right. So, he's getting ready to take notes. This is the this is the R Bank Master. Do you want me to send Bill away for this part?
Yeah.
So that he can't? Yes, please.
Okay.
I don't want to give away any of our secret sauce, but first of all, the team is run by Robin Bank, who's out of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh, and he's been racing professionally for a long time. He actually ran Silver Crown cars, USAC, which, man, that would be a wild time. I can't even imagine getting in one of those cars, but he's I would say he's the secret sauce, as well as my dad. Having a guy that can put the cars together as well as you can, and then having a guy like Robin who does all the strategy, all the driver development, finding drivers, all the recruitment, finding talent, and between those two, I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm pretty lucky.
It's pretty funny with Robin. It's like you look at his cars. Your car's a little bit better prepared looking than what his cars are. But his cars are so fast and so reliable, and the teams just make those cars do things that you think, no way did he just do that. So Robin, when you walk down pit lane and when you guys are up front, even when you're further back toward the start of the race, he's sitting there with his phone in his hand, looking at Race Hero or Race Monitor or Race whatever, looking at where you guys are, what the lap times are. Every now and then he'll peek his head out down the pit lane to look at the other guys. What are they doing? Are they coming in now? Are they looking at his strategy? He's so far ahead of everybody. One time, my car was leading a race at Mid-Ohio, and Robin was behind us by about 3 laps. And I'm on the phone with my guys. What do I do? Robin's going to catch me. He's that good. I can't do this strategy stuff. Racecraft is just not my thing. My guys on Troy and all our other friends, they're just like, there's nothing you can do, dude. Just floor it. Just keep going as hard as you can. Push that gas as much as you can. And we ended up breaking. Robin wins the race with about, I think, 2 hours to go. I want to say 5 years later, I saw Robin, talking to him. I said, hey, remember that race at Mid-Ohio? And he comes back with everything. I mean, he knew what lap we were on. He knew when we were going to pit, when we were going to fuel, how much fuel we were going to have, who was going in the car next, which was me, and who he was putting in. And basically at the end of the race, he was going to come down to, I think you were there too, weren't you, for that Mid-Ohio race?
No, I wasn't. This year was the first year I've actually ever raced cars at Mid-Ohio. Previous to that, it had just been karts.
But it was insane just how good he is at remembering all this stuff and knowing what's going to happen way ahead of everybody else, it seems like. And that's kind of why a lot of his cars win. I mean, how much influence is he? I mean, how much have you learned from him in that perspective? Because you also run with other teams too.
Yeah. I mean, I've certainly learned a ton. He really has it down to a science. And I mean, the amount of information he has on our car and what it's capable of doing, our drivers, as well as the competition, what their car can do and what their drivers can do. It's pretty staggering.
I heard he's pretty ruthless when you get in the car. He wants you to do something. If you can't do that, I mean, he really pushes you on the radio, doesn't he?
No, I wouldn't say he does. I don't think he tries to push anyone beyond their limits or beyond what they're comfortable with. I think he just tries to extract the most that he can out of a driver and try and put them in the best position he can.
Does he have a way of kind of figuring out what makes each driver tick and kind of pushes you in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. But it does take a little bit of time for him to figure out, what makes each driver and what they can and what they can't do, and what their specialties are. But after a few races, he really gets drivers down pat and can really put a race strategy together of when drivers are going to go out and what conditions or at what part of the race. And he really gets that all dialed in.
Does the race strategy start? Because a lot of your races obviously are 8 hours, 12 hours. Does that start right from the first lap, or does it kind of look where the race develops, how it unfolds, and then how much does the strategy change as the race unfolds and develops?
Oh, it probably starts 3 months before the race, trying to figure out what drivers he can get for what events, and the longer races. Our Racing, I think, Bill, did they win the 36 and the 38?
Yes. Yeah, they've won.
So the Mega Enduros, so a Mega Enduro is a very different monster than a 7 hour endurance race, which, for us ChampCar folk, it's short. Almost a sprint race for us. Right. We're pedal down the whole time without lifting or giving the car a break. So, I mean, they're a completely different beast, but no, it doesn't start, into the race. It starts, months beforehand. So it definitely, is not something that's spur of the moment.
I know that a lot of teams will sit there looking at the registration list for the race to see who's showing up, and they kind of get an idea of who, there's been the teams up front, you kind of know who the drivers are. And do you kind of pick your drivers according to who else may be coming that will work on that track and work with the car?
It could play into it. You really have to know your competition, and doing it as long as we have, when we look at an entry list, we generally speaking have a good idea of, who our main competition is. And, year to year, you might have teams that, get a little bit quicker, get a little bit slower. There can be new teams to the series that kind of come out of nowhere. Teams can switch to a new, make and model, right. New different type of car. So there's really a lot to it.
Well, you say that, a team switching to different makes and models. That's one thing that our bank has been pretty, they either have the Honda or the Saabs. And I think they've had a couple of other cars in there, but it's pretty much been those cars where you have teams that just every year or every 6 months are showing up with a different car. There's no way to really fully develop that car. And I think that's what gives you guys the big plus.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's really a big plus. We're a very budget-minded team. So you had made some comments earlier, about how, some of our cars might not look that good. And yeah, when we have a limited budget, we want to make sure that, our money's going into new wheel bearings or new tie rod ends. It might not get that new fender. It might not get a new paint job. When funds are tight, they're going to go to whatever's going to make the car, reliable and perform the best.
Which is pretty funny when you see these guys show up with these, big transporters and 5 or 6 cars in them, and then they have another transporter that has all the parts and the team guys in it and such, and they set up encampments, and there's our bank with an open trailer and
maybe an easy up. Maybe
an easy up. That's right. And
yeah, it really is a struggle though. Like this year, we really didn't have much of a budget for rain tires, and we wanted to figure out, what some good tires were that could be run in the dry and the wet, and were a good compromise that had good wear, but good speed. And then we saw, 20% discount for Maxxis VR1 tires. And so, we started running those and found they were, a great compromise between, grip, longevity, dry, wet, everything. And we had some great wins in those in the dry and the wet. And that was, key to our budget this year. Another thing that's been key to our budget is being partnered with 90racing.com, who gives us a ton of support and, probably supplies us with, half or 3/4 of the parts that go into the car. And, they've been, a critical key component now for a few years of our racing program.
Yeah, most of us have bought stuff from 90 Racing. That's Robin Banks' sister's store. Isn't it a family store or family?
It's Sharon Bank.
Yep.
I think one of the few, if not the only, women-owned USAC Silver Crown team as well. She's a Silver Crown team owner, and
it's pretty awesome because you'll call her up and say, "Hey, I kind of need this, and I don't really know the name of it." She'll just boom, boom, boom. She knows exactly what you want.
Oh yeah, that's how I am. Hey, I don't really like the last shoes I had, but I don't want to spend $150. Like, what's the best shoe for $80? Or a person like me, hey, those European cut slim fit suits aren't going to work too well for me. what suits kind of run, a little large in the midsection. Yeah. And, she's really good at, she always has her ear to the ground and gets feedback from customers. And she is really good with the safety stuff and the gear, knowing, what's going to work with your budget and what can fit certain people. Yeah, she's really good with that.
Now driving a small car like the Honda, you're a mature guy like myself. Is that the word we use nowadays? I don't know, but is it hard finding cars to fit in? I mean, like that, the Honda, the small cars like that, or is it you have the proper size seat and the whole bit?
Yeah, I mean, I need a pretty big seat. I think we have a 17.5 or an 18-inch seat in the car. But the window opening and the height of the car make it a little bit difficult for me to slip in.
And you're over 6 foot, right?
Yeah, I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
I'm 6'2" and, about 275, maybe 300 pounds on a good day. So I'm a big boy, and getting in a little car like a Miata or a CRX can be difficult, but we make it work. Get the seat in the right position, and we try and accommodate it for all different size drivers. We have drivers, anything from 5'2" or 5'3" all the way up to 6'5".
So explain that. How does Troy, who's what's Troy's last name with you that races with you guys? Not Trulio. He raced with you guys at Gingerman in the car.
Oh, he's actually raced with us a
bunch of times,
3 times now. Yeah. I know he raced with us at Utah in the Saab. He ran our Honda at Charlotte, and he's run with us a handful of times.
So how do you do that? I mean, you're a big guy. He's a little guy. I want to say 5'4", 5'5", maybe smaller. I don't know. Maybe a little taller. But how does that work with you getting out of the car and him getting in? What do you have to do to do that?
A lot of time what we'll do is the day before a race, we'll have drivers get in the car and, get some seat padding and just try and figure out what makes them comfortable, and then kind of leave it up to them to make sure that they have the gear they need ready for, the race. So, some seat pads. We don't run seat sliders. It's a fixed seat. Just for safety reasons. I don't really like relying on, movable things. But, so we make sure the belts are, adjusted for all the different sizes, and then, seat pads and, a little bit of compromise. If you're a tall guy, your knees are going to be bent a little bit. And if you're a, shorter guy, your legs are going to be a bit straight. But you got to find a medium ground that works for everyone.
So we're coming up on the clock here. What does 2022 look for you guys this year? What kind of schedule are you looking to run? What are your thoughts looking forward to this year?
So I think we're going to start our season off in April. Hopefully we're going to run 2 different cars in April, one at Daytona and one at the Ozarks. And from there, we're going to run quite a bit in the Midwest. And then maybe a little bit, out east at, Pit Race and Mid-Ohio and some of those events. I think we're planning on running, somewhere around 10 races. And, we've got a really strong driver lineup. And we're planning on running 2 cars. And then I'll be dabbling a little bit with the Premium Dudes as well, who's another team that I'm part of. That's some friends of mine from the Chicagoland area.
And that's a Honda-powered E30.
Yeah, it's a Honda K24 powered E30. That's an absolute
wicked
riot.
Fast, yeah. So, what is your favorite race in ChampCar?
My favorite race. I don't know. That's a good question. They, each race brings, total different elements to the table. I always have a really good time at, Gingerman each summer. But I mean, the challenges of a Road America, a Watkins Glen, a Road Atlanta, I don't know that I can say there's a favorite. I like them all for different reasons.
So as we get to this year, I always love talking about just kind of the storytelling side of the sport and listening to people, give their, what was your craziest race? What was your most interesting come from behind kind of thing? Is there a particular race that you can think of that you've done that, that's really sticks out in your mind as just really memorable when you talk to somebody who's not into racing or not into ChampCar, and you want to tell them and get them excited about it, what's the one story you tell?
Ooh, you know what? It might be the 2016 East Coast Championship at VIR. We were just running the VIR North Course. So we show up, and we hadn't run any races over 7 or 8 hours. And we had the stock CRX brakes on the car for all the previous events, which are like 9.6-inch rotors. They're tiny. They look like something off of a bicycle. They worked fine for us, but we would be out of brake pads after 7 or 8 hours. Now, this was going to be a Parc Ferme race. So it was going to be, you run 8 hours on Saturday, park the car on pit lane, you can't touch it overnight, and then you race on Sunday. So we knew we needed a different brake package. And we had something screwed up. When we were driving the car in the pits or in practice laps that Friday, the wheel was probably jumping up and down a foot, and the pedal was jumping all over, and the car, we could barely slow down safely. And, we tried a bunch of things on Friday. Nothing really worked. We were pretty low on ourselves. Hopes weren't good. First driver went out. We started first, I think went back to 30th or 35th, probably out of 80 cars. Nobody was particularly happy after the first stint. I jumped in the car second. He said, hey, I think the brakes are feeling a little bit better than they were yesterday. And then a couple laps later, hey, this is manageable. I think we can work with this. And I think when I got out of the car, we were up to 10th or so, and then slowly worked through the day until we were first at the end of the day. And then Sunday we went out, and everything kind of just started hitting like clockwork. And we ended up winning that event. And, it was one where Friday we just thought, the car is going to shake itself apart in the first hour. Saturday we start the race, and it certainly seemed that way. And, after the first stint, we moved backwards 30 positions, and things weren't working our way. And we just kind of stuck with it, and, ended up getting that East Coast Championship. And it was a really fun event. And it seemed like there was a lot of adversity. And our team was actually racing at the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill that same weekend. So Robin Bank was actually out west at Thunder Hill. And one of our core drivers, Kerry Steed, he was actually in charge of running that race for the team. And he actually is a driver based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and owns a pizza restaurant, Generations Pizza, that sponsors us as well. And that was
really good pizza, by the way.
Yeah, you always hear that. And a nice bar there as well too. Their Captain and Cokes are to die for, I hear, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that of all the events, that one might be the one the most memorable for sure for me.
So okay, now you've got me peaked. I was about to wrap this up, but I got to ask one last question. So what happened with the brakes that made them come in? Was it just getting used to the brakes and understanding how they worked, or was there something mechanically that you guys tapped in on after that first stint or two on Saturday?
No, I don't think there was anything mechanically wrong. I think it was a pad transfer issue. And with the size brakes and different size rotors, I think we may have been, working out of the operating zone for the brake pads. And we probably had some, extremely aggressive pads on there that left some goofy transfer. Maybe we didn't bed them quite right. But there was nothing mechanically wrong. And I think as we went on, they may have just started to bed or, just started to seat better, and they weren't good at the end of the race, but they were a whole heck of a lot better than they were when we started the race. That was for sure.
Now, do you guys run the same pads at every race, or do you run the different pad compound or different brake setup or different setups for different tracks, depending on the speeds or, the conditions of the track?
Yeah. We changed the car configuration, to suit, the type of race, whether it's a short or a long track, or, whether it's something that we want to have better wear or better modulation. And, we'll talk to Sharon of 90racing.com, and kind of see, what she thinks and what her recommendations are, if there's anything kind of on sale too, because we're always, budget minded. But, we definitely reconfigure the car brakes and other things as well, to suit us for each different event.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Bill, anything else before we wrap this thing up?
No, you going to win this year, the championship?
We're going to try.
Number one ranked car with overall wins for last year. And at Ozark, I think that's going to be a track the Honda's going to do really well at.
Well, I really like those gold number 1 panels, and I'm going to do my best to try and keep them. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
All right. Andrew Johnson from R-Bank Racing. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. He is Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. This is Inside ChampCar. We'll be right back.
Every race weekend, you don't know what's going to happen. But with ChampCar.live, all the action comes right into your living room. The ChampCar Endurance Series is North America's home to real competitive endurance road racing. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car, trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car and trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. Check out ChampCar.live on the web, subscribe, and ring the bell so as not to miss a single minute of the action. It's fun, free, informative, and it's just a click away. ChampCar.live. Come check us out. We bring you a front row seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Welcome back to Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski. He's
Bill Strong, and I'm really upset.
You look like you almost forgot your name, by the way.
Oh, yeah, coming up on 60, that kind of happens, I hear.
So we just got done with Andrew Johnson. My gosh, he is, number 1, a good guy.
Yeah.
Number 2, full of info.
Not the info I wanted.
I was going to say, how's your notepad?
It's empty. I wanted, the strategy. What is, that team's good. And it's fun watching them on pit lane. It's, they've got some outstanding drivers, guys that you've kind of never heard of. And then boom, it's like, wow, this guy is putting down some insane laps with the equipment that they have. Like I said, that Saab, when you look at the Saab, you kind of look and you go, that ain't going to last. Or, you're just waiting for you hit a pothole on the track and you're just watching the rust come off of it. But those Saabs are solid. They are fast. And I want to say at one point at Road Atlanta, I may have lost it a little bit at one point in a race where there was a little bit of body contact between me and an R-Bank car. And I think we may have kind of transferred our numbers from door to door, going down between 5 and 6. And then afterwards, I'm like, what the heck did I just do? But, never do that again.
Good
but
stuff.
It was, it gets pretty, it gets pretty heated out there with some teams. And as you're trying to get the best out of everything, and you're trying to get around these guys, and R-Bank, they're on it 100%. When he says they're not sticking back. Once that green flag drops, that engine's sitting at, what do you say, 8,000?
Yeah.
I'll bet you it's 8,600 RPM.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I want to thank Andrew for being our guest. Next week, we're going to recap everything that happened at Road Atlanta. That should be fun. And I'm sure we'll have another tech tip and a fantastic guest. So, Bill, again, thanks for being with me. What a great episode.
It's been fun.
All right. This is Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski. He's Bill Strong. And this is the Racing Wire Podcasting Network.